Welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast with your hosts, Vernon and Nigel. The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds.
Hello and welcome to another Red Shirt Podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Well, Nigel, it's cold, it's raining, it's at Old Trafford, and it's another aftermath from a game where I think we're feeling dull. And, to say that we're on the floor is a bit of an understatement, isn't it, Nigel?
Mate, it's a crazy old time. And I think it's funny. I think, there's probably not much point in reviewing the games. The City game. I think every Tom, Dick and Harry has had their comments. I think we're pretty much all unanimous in the fact that it was an absolute nightmare. And the fact is, something has to now change. So I guess I don't want to waste any more time by banging on about that hopeless game. And we really ought to talk about what happens next, from our point of view. But good to see Anif, man. He's my guy.
Anif's back in town. Anif, how are you?
I'm all right. I've not been well, so I have that mad cold that's been going round. Having to suffer with the cold and then watch United play, it's like a double whammy, mate. Trust me. So I'm glad to be back on here. I'm hoping I'm going to, feeling better and possibly, brighter times ahead for United. Let's see.
I think what Nigel said before, we won't review the game. What we'll do is we'll go into the aftermath of the game. And where I want to really start with, if we can, was Roy Keane's summarization and his, analysis after the game. If anybody got to see it, I think you'll be able to see it on YouTube. It was his analysis after the game on Sky Sports. It was between him, Micah Richards and Graham Souness. And he went into a 5-minute rant of anger and frustration. And for me, it was quite interesting when he used the words bus full of bluffers. And he made particular sort of, paid particular attention to Maguire, Shaw and Fred. What did you think of what he was saying at that time?
I think it was a bit unfair because, I'm certainly sat there not so long ago and, was giving the big ups to Shaw in England, you know what I mean? Doing really well. And then now he's calling him a bluffer, you know what I mean? Roy likes his own sound of his own voice. He likes to make the big statements. That's what he's there for. If you understand TV, you know what you're getting. You know what I mean? There's the thing that was more thing is he didn't go in on Ollie though. You know what I mean? As such, really. He's saying a team full of bluffers, but players aren't all bad. You know what I mean? You'll have loads of professionals say they're all top players. You know what I mean? And you kind of see some of them are self-motivated and some need the arm round the shoulder and some need dinging and some are definitely not right. Whether we say the classic, the dressing room's gone, I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe, we've seen certain other players who've kind of had aggro put on them, have kind of seen that he wasn't possibly the man at the wheel for the team. And they've been going along week and week in, you know what I mean? And such. So Roy's statement, I kind of feel, was a bit unjustified and such. And he's been a manager as well. And he's not, he didn't have great success at it. You know what I mean? So, and it'd be interesting to hear what players would say about Roy Keane as a manager.
Well, you know what? Let's be honest. I think Roy's done this before. He's talked about Maguire before, and he's done a similar thing before. So, first time, was rah Roy, but this time, to be honest, he needed to say what needs to be said. And how embarrassing that the City player and the Liverpool legend are all saying what needs to be said, but Roy can't bring himself to say it. Gary Neville is a disgrace now. He can't bring himself to say it. He likes to play. He's Mr. Football. He's Mr. Knowledgeable. You say many times, Vernon, your eyes don't lie. So why is Neville playing this silly game? Why is Roy playing this silly game of trying to deflect and, almost saying it? At least Rio Ferdinand has said, okay, I'm going to say what needs to be said. And he said it. It's his mate. They're probably going to fall out. He might not take his calls. He might not get a Christmas card. this year, but he said what needs to be said. Why? Because he loves the club, and no one can tolerate what we're seeing.
I mean, he did say, though, when you listen to the actual interview, that he would have grabbed him by the neck, didn't he? He did say that and say, why are you playing Fred in this team? I mean,
Exactly.
Roy Keane did say that.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because, and obviously, you know, I'm a Fred fan. Now, the reason why I'm a Fred fan, let me try and explain it. Yeah, the way he's playing for United now is terrible, but we've said many times, players come to Old Trafford and die. Under this regime, great players look ordinary. You know, if we had our way, we'd even have Ronaldo looking ordinary. It's testament to how brilliant Ronaldo and Cavani are, that they still don't look ordinary in this team because the regime just kills footballing ability. So somebody made a comment, and it's what I've made many times. If Fred was sat in the middle of the park, if Fred played for City, he wouldn't look ordinary. We'd all be raving about how Fred's a great, industrious midfield player. Yeah, and we keep talking about Declan Rice at Old Trafford. Declan Rice comes to Old Trafford now. He'll die at Old Trafford. Yeah. Sancho's come and he's died at Old Trafford. So you've got to stop throwing these players under the bus. Even Maguire why did we pay 80 million for him? Because he was obviously a decent centre-back. Now he's died at Old Trafford. So come on, let's have it right. What's the problem here? Are all these players all turning rubbish overnight, or is something happening? Because it's an amazing coincidence that players come to Old Trafford and all of a sudden look like rubbish.
I think the thing is that you can't hide. You know, like we say, your eyes don't lie. And I think what's happening is, you know, the luck's gone now. You know, pulling the rabbits out of the hat has gone, and you're up against it's your own ability to outfox another manager or another coach. And this run started for me in the Leicester game when he faced Brendan Rodgers away. And Brendan Rodgers just said, well, we could see the space where they wasn't pressing. So we just took advantage of that. You know, we could see the space. And this is the thing for me, is because the problem that we've got is anytime he comes up against an average manager, and when I say average manager, let's have it right, yeah? Aston Villa come to Old Trafford, beat us, don't win a game for the next 5, yeah? Sack Dean Smith, yeah? Right? You've got who else have we got? We've got who else has just been sacked? Sorry, his name's just gone from me.
Well, Nuno's just been sacked.
Well, Nuno's just been sacked again. Difficult run. He's been sacked. Yeah. You have Benitez. That's the man. It comes and gets a 1-1 draw. Everton haven't won since. You know, and it's just decent managers that are coming there to outfox him, and they're outfoxing him on the day. Now, for me, you're correct, because I think that the thing is like Sancho seems to be going down the same road as Donny van de Beek. And for me, it's worrying because any young player like Jude Bellingham, you know, if United are serious about signing him, Jude Bellingham's going to be looking at like United and thinking, I can't go there. My career's going to die. And any agent's going to tell him the same thing.
You're both right, you know what I mean? And the other thing is it's inspiration. You know what I mean? It's inspiration. Now, I'm not going to say Ollie's bad guy. You know what I mean? I think he was good after Mourinho. It's coming out of situations. Mourinho to me was dark. It was toxic. Proper dark.
Toxic and dark.
Yeah, toxic and dark. Ollie brought some light and gave us back a little bit to a vision of what we remembered we were like. Now we want to be what we were like and surpass that. And Ollie can't take us there. He's took us to a position, you know what I mean? And the other thing is, got to remember, we've got players there who know the deal with managers. They've been to clubs with top managers, and they've stuck, you know, they staked it. They've come in and seen us to kind of already in their heads. When they go on that pitch, they think, this guy don't know what he's doing. And I'll be as callous as that. Those probably, you can kind of see that, you know what I mean? They're giving respect to United and the fans in not challenging, but in terms of their playing ability and the skills and applications and their knowledge, they know he ain't the right guy. We're going to have to decide before we lose them, you know, or they have a full shutdown and it has a knock-on effect on all the other players, is that we got to the club need to make a serious decision.
The thing is, and I think it's been noted on numerous occasions, that without the ball, United's shape is terrible. There is no shape basically at times. And that's why teams can come in between, you know, get in between the lines and find it easy to go to front to back so easily. So, I mean, moving on from this, obviously, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, of a replacement for Ollie. Obviously, last week there was a hell of a lot of talk that Conte could be the man, but obviously he's gone to Spurs now. I mean, I think we've spoke about this, Nigel, that he obviously wasn't in the conversation. And from what I've heard, he was never in the conversation.
Yeah,
And
never
also,
approached, was it? Exactly.
he was never approached, but also the feeling was that he would have brought the same sort of feeling that Mourinho brought to the club. You know, that was what was coming out.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been talk this week about obviously Ten Hag and Ralph Rangnick, you know, coming in, you know, which is, you know, interesting. I mean, if somebody was to come in, who would be your man?
Oh well, so obviously, I hold up a white flag. I'm not gonna be saying I know who the next guy should be, but I've actually been listening a lot to the arguments for Ralph Rangnick and Ten Hag, and I think the argument's compelling. You know, I'm not gonna pretend I have inside knowledge or superior knowledge in terms of who should be the next coach. What I do know is, of all the managers, Ollie's obviously the worst. You could literally get the next worst manager. And, you know, if we got second last year, there's a shout for we can actually do quite well with somebody with a little bit of technical nous and with some coaching staff that know what to do in the coaching sessions. So it's almost anybody but Ollie, unfortunately, in my head. And now I know somebody has to suit United and has to fit the United way. But I think maybe this whole idea of the United way as a philosophy is broken. Maybe there's no such thing as a United way, because what I see is a lot of people wanted to hold on to their jobs that may have just got a position as a coach or just got a position as a director of football or a footballing director or technical director, and everybody wants to hold on to their roles, which is why the idea of Ralph Rangnick really intrigues me, because he's somebody that has a vision from top to bottom to completely evolve a club. And if that means some people have to lose their jobs, then let them lose their jobs, because who's bigger? Is United bigger or these individuals bigger? Who is it?
Well, the idea of bringing Ralph Rangnick in is obviously to bring him in for now to settle the ship till the end of the season. And then obviously there'd be a successor. That's the idea that's being muted.
Yeah, but it'd be mad to move him on. It'd be mad for him to come in for 9 months and then that'd be it. He should go upstairs. From what I understand about him, he's a visionary. He knows how to build.
He's a developer. I mean, he's a developer of football. I mean, that's what he did. He did that at Hoffenheim and you know, at Stuttgart, the teams that he was at. That's what he did. He's a developer of teams and the culture of football that they're going to play. And I think as well, from a stock market point of view, yeah, I think bringing him in, especially when you see the value that he put on the Red Bull teams, you know, the value of price that he's put on that whole group. But he's moved on. I mean, he was actually going to take over at Milan last season, but the coach that was the interim coach at the time had done such a good job that he decided not to go with Ralph, and he's currently at Lokomotiv Moscow. Anif, your opinion on this, please.
Well, I think you know, if someone came in like that, they're obviously going to be upstairs, but does that still solve the problem on the pitch? You know what I mean? And to me, it doesn't. There's a bit of me, I kind of think, you know, I can't remember the other manager you mentioned, Tagen or something.
Ten Hag.
Tagen Hag. You know what I mean? It's like tried, untested. How long will they have? You know what I mean, and stuff. There's a bit of me. I know I'm big names and stuff. I still want to. I'd be making a play for Zizi.
I think it's very.
I'd be making a play for Zizi because reason why is we've got a great crop of players, and I think he's worked with all of them, most of them, knows them in and out. He has something to prove as well. He has something to prove that he is bigger than just Real Madrid. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to get the French job for ages. That's what he's holding out for. So what other big job is there in Europe than United? United need to be serious about it. They could get him, but they have to be serious. It's the fact that they didn't even approach Conte means to me they're not serious.
Well, I think that comes at board level, because obviously you've got Matt Judge who's coming in and Ed Woodward that's going out, and I think this is where they're at a crossroads where none of them wants to be seen as, Ed Woodward doesn't want to be seen as his last job was getting rid of Ollie, and Matt Judge coming in doesn't want to be seen as the guy, that ultimately got rid of him. And also you got to remember, this is the guy that they've invested in heavily. So by getting rid of Ollie, it proves that they're wrong and they don't want that, at their door. Now with Ten Hag, it's quite interesting because they're obviously in the Champions League. I've watched quite a bit of Ajax and they are beautifully coached. There's a beautiful rhythm, to the team. Everybody knows what they're doing. They coach well. They move well. You can see that their shape, is really tight. But I remember listening to Mario van der Kamp, the Dutch football journalist, a few weeks ago, and he was asked about would Ten Hag suit the United job, and his opinion was that his personality isn't big enough and strong enough, and that he felt he'd be devoured by the press. He felt that culturally he would be more suited to go on to a bigger job in Germany first. It was almost that this job would be too big too soon. He'd need another job, like at Dortmund or say Mönchengladbach, and then come to England. He needed to be at a big club. But I think for me, when it comes to a choice, I think United could do no wrong than look at Luis Enrique's door. I mean, he's a Spanish manager at the moment, ex-Barcelona, managed at Roma, done a great job, fantastic job, So for me, that's the man. And also as well, plays a great system, and you can see he's a good coach.
And just going back to the shout for Zizi, I think I immediately feel a little bit nervous because it feels like another project. It feels like not an apprentice, because obviously, but he was only at Real Madrid, so people can argue how difficult is it at Real Madrid. So again, it feels like another. It doesn't fill me with confidence that he's going to sort the problems out. Luis Enrique is a good shout, but I think the idea of if we could sort out the whole thing with Ten Hag, I think maybe, like you say, he plays beautiful football, and the coaching is clearly there. And I think the one thing that we've said week in, week out on this pod is just a lack of coaching. All I want is a coach. Please just give us some coaches, please. I'd really say, look, we can sort all the media thing out. We'll protect you as much as we can. Just go in there and realise the potential of these players that we've got.
I think what you've got to remember, though, from an Ajax point of view, they have a football culture, don't they, from top to bottom, and that's been there for, it's seamless. So whichever manager comes in next, it's going to be the same sort of culture of, football and coaching. The problem that I have with United at the moment is there doesn't seem to be any balance. He's still trying to work out his best team now, to accommodate Ronaldo, and you've got to look at it from Ronaldo. I mean, Ronaldo's got a scoring record now of 1 goal in every 98 minutes for United. And that doesn't include penalties. There's no penalties included in that at all. So that is some strike rate. And you kind of think that if a bigger manager was there, a better manager, it would probably be, 2 in 98 minutes, because they'd be scoring a lot more goals and not conceding. And I think that's the problem, because to me, the problem lies with the coaching staff. I mean, and this isn't personal against Kieran McKenna, but United have kept 1 clean sheet, 2 clean sheets since March in the Premier League. Now, you're obviously not doing your job right if you're conceding that many goals.
You just reminded you're making my blood boil there, because you just reminded me of Ollie's post-match interview where he talked about he has every confidence in his coaching staff. And I thought, what are you saying? Why do you not think about the word? I know you're under pressure, but why would you talk about I have every confidence in my coaching staff? They're brilliant. Clearly, they're not brilliant because the players are performing terribly. I've never seen a more unbalanced United team in the history of watching that club. So don't try and bamboozle us, the fans, who know what we can see by telling us that the team is well coached, have ever confidence in your coach. Either the coaches are brilliant and the players can't take telling, or maybe the coaches aren't communicating the information clearly. Either way, the players ain't going, because you don't sack players, but you do sack coaches and maybe get somebody else in. What are you going on about?
Well, this is the thing, because you've got to be ruthless, and you've seen it with other managers. I mean, the one good thing about like Alex Ferguson that people don't realise is his coaching staff was evolving constantly. Every 2 or 3 seasons, there was a different set of coaches in that would bring in a different set of philosophies. Now, to me, what's kind of like evident is they need to go out and get a really experienced coach, a really experienced coach who can coach the defense and work them and basically knock out the bad habits. Because to me, there's some terrible habits in there.
Well, yeah, they do. I've always had my fingers about Maguire, and I've seen it to come into pass. You know what I mean? He's getting found out, hassle him, and you know what I mean? Rare. Lindelof's gone missing on loads of corners from us, not forgetting the European game. That, you know what I mean? Where was he? Let the man just stream in behind him and bang it in. I don't know. I really don't know. The whole thing. It just looks bad. It just looks bad in terms of the amount of work ethic as well. To me, I kind of think even if you had a club team, a pub team, I would make sure they graft. And United don't even do the basics. So I'm thinking, if they're not doing that, then what's the rest going to be like? Is that an indicator then that they have lost, Ollie's lost it, and their professionalism is masking it?
Well, it is funny because I've got to the stage now where, and I think me and Nigel have discussed this, before, that when we got beat at home by City all those years ago, 6-1, we saw it as a blip because we had the confidence and the assurance that Fergie would work it out. It was just a really, really bad day at the office. Mm-hmm. And now you've come to the stage where it's not with Ollie that you can see him succeeding. It's all in hope that he succeeds, using the word hope that he succeeds. Mm-hmm. And the thing is the only way you can get out of this is by going on a big run of games, of winning them, like 10 on the bounce. And the problem is, guys, is I don't see him doing that now.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if we did win the next 10 games on the bounce, I think nobody's now deluded anymore. Correct. I think we could go on a 10-game run, and everybody will still say, "Yeah, but Ollie's not the guy. He's not. He's lost the dressing room. Like you both said, he's lost the dressing room. When you lose the dressing room, and I said it a few weeks ago, let's still treat Ollie like a legend. Let him leave with his dignity. Let's say he's done a great job. He's steadied the ship when we need a steadying, and he's brought us to this point where we can even talk about winning the league. He's done a magnificent job. But the longer he stays, the more he now looks like one of these guys that are just clinging on and won't let go. And the more we're going to say, "Look, Ollie, you need to go." I mean, I don't want that conversation to happen. I want it to be treated like the legend he has, and
amicable,
and not to undermine the work that he's done to get us to where we are. Because
he has done a great job. I think from that point, you've got to kind of assess it on that, and I think what Anif said at the beginning with the toxic dark times, of Mourinho, the bore fest that we had under Van Gaal, the pathetic performances under David Moyes, and Ollie's reinvigorated us. The guy's got us the last 3 seasons. We've been in the Champions League. We've got some sort of stability back. As a team, the football has got better. And I think you're right, but I think we've got to be honest and say that next level, we need somebody else, don't we?
Right. Okay. Can I jump in? Jump in there. Right. Compared to most of the big clubs, look how many managers they went through before they've got stability. They've gone through maybe managers before they got Liverpool. You know what I mean? And such a United, we've done 4. On a quick recount, you know what I mean? To be going to a European final, second in the league, etc. You know what I mean? And stuff. So we've still got the capacity to say, right, we've got, you know, in comparison to the other clubs, we're not doing that, especially from where we're coming, the standard that we set, because we know where we want to be and know how we want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, we've still got that capacity, you know, in saying, like, you know, we've not been as bad as. I think this, when we open up, we're saying we're a bit sentimental. We don't want to change manager. Well, really, you might not find the right manager unless you go through 5 minimum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. I think, and you know, someone needs to make that point together with Neville, because he keeps banging on about, well, we've tried the world-class manager, and we've tried the world-class coach, and we've tried the you know, Fergie's nomination, and none of it has worked. I'm like, hang on a minute, what have all the clubs tried? Yeah, maybe we do need to go through 10 managers before we hit upon that right manager. Obviously, nobody wants that. But you can't now say we're stuck with Ollie because we've tried everything else and everything else hasn't worked. You keep going.
Something that was lost in Roy Keane's rant, which he made a very, very good point, and I don't think a lot of people picked up on it, was when he said to Graham Souness, Liverpool have won one championship in 30 years. Yeah. Let's not forget that. One championship in 30 years. This is the best run that City have ever had in their history. And that's because, let's forget, it's a petrol state-run club. Yeah. You know, competing against them is very difficult because it's a state-funded football club, you know. So let's have it right, you know. And the point is that all of these clubs, you know, have gone 4 or 5 managers, you know. I mean, you know, people talk about how well City were run. You got to remember, they appointed Guardiola in the January, February, when they were going for a league title. The day it was announced, the day after, they were playing Leicester, who beat them 3-1 at the Etihad, that went on to win the league that year. Yeah. So let's you know, when we talk about how critical our club are, let's get these announcements right, you know.
Yeah.
But it's been a tough one, but you know, what has to be clear, and this is the other thing that what has to be made clear, is that the direction the club wants to run in. You know, for instance, Chelsea, you know the direction that their club run in. You know, you fail, you're sacked, somebody else comes in.
Yeah.
That's the culture of their club. But their fans don't see anything wrong with it because they see trophy after trophy each year. Yeah. You know, you got to remember that Frank Lampard, who's their all-time scoring legend, was sacked by him, you know, when they were still in the league and they were still in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Well, that's the culture of their club.
I think you're spot on. And it really kind of focuses the attention, not on the Glazers, funnily enough, because they backed Ollie. No one can deny Ollie's been backed by the Glazers.
Yeah.
It focuses the attention on that director of football, or in fact that chief exec. So we're back to him again, aren't we? And the fact is, we know that Abramovich is going to sack you if you don't do the job. Why is he not sacking Ollie? Why is he not putting Ollie out of his misery? Where's the plan B? You know, because every football club, it's a results business. You know, if you lose 10 games in a bounce, you've got to be thinking about losing your job. So how can we be going like this and there's no plan B?
I think because, Nigel, because you've got to not Anif, you've got to take into perspective. They came second last year. They got to a Europa League final, yeah? They invested in quality players, not the usual, you know, half-decent players that we've invested in over the last few years. They brought in stellar signings. Sancho, Varane, you know, Ronaldo. So they weren't expecting to be in this conversation. And I think this is the problem now, because when you had Mourinho and they knew that the tenor was ending, they would have been in conversations 6 weeks before the announcement of Ole was happening. And, you know, Mourinho would have known that. And that's why he was becoming more and more toxic, because he wanted his payout. Do you know what I mean? He knew what was going. But I think the problem is
go on, Andy. If I'm going to try and remember my point.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm sorry. If I'm a United legend and I love the club, I'm stepping aside. I'm not waiting to get sacked. I want people to respect me. I can walk on them terraces, oh man. Hey, I wasn't waiting for the payoff. I wasn't doing a good job. I own up. You know what I mean? Now, is that what Ollie's waiting for?
No, I don't think that's fair on Ollie. I think Ollie.
I'm saying it is.
No, I don't think that's fair. I think Ollie should just wait to be told he's got to go and then get his payment. I think that's right as a manager. You can't do the whole, I love the club so much, I'm gonna resign and then walk away, and the club says, okay, I was about to give you 10 mil, but we'll keep you. It's not. He's got to look after himself and his family.
Yeah, I mean,
and he has to face the press. He should get compensated for facing the press.
I mean,
but what I will say, if you don't mind me jumping in there, it's just the point you made before about, but the club had backed him and the club had, didn't expect that this would happen. He came second last year. I'm saying it's a results business. Yeah, you don't buy a jumbo jet and say, well, this is the best jumbo jet ever, so we don't need parachutes in the event. It's ridiculous. You're gonna have a parachute just in case the jumbo jet decides it's gonna come tumbling to the ground. So at least you don't kill yourself. So where's the
what I'm saying, Nigel, is what you've got to understand is you go into say days have gone. The days have gone now. It's like now Aston Villa, they sacked. They sacked Smith. Spurs sacked Nuno. But both parties, Spurs with Conte, and now Aston Villa with their approach to Gerrard, they would know that there was a good chance that they're going to get him, and they'll wait for the international break. What I'm saying is, if United are going for somebody big, and it could be for somebody from overseas, who's still in a job, it's going to take a few weeks to get him here. There'll be conversations and feelers that'll be put out. It won't just.
Hang on a minute. How long would it take you to say yes to United, John Vernon?
No, it's not that. But if you're a manager,
United have come knocking. Either we're not as big as we think we are.
No, Nigel, look at it from this point of view. It's not that saying it's the negotiations and then breaking that contract with the other club and where they are. You've got to understand, because there's got to be an approach. There has to be an approach, where the other club, if the guy's in a job, has to agree to the approach. Then it's the compensation if he's in a contract. It's remember, United had to pay Mulder. What I'm saying is,
I hear what you're saying.
What I'm saying,
it's going to take a while.
It doesn't take just 2 minutes to say It's not the yes. It's putting everything into place.
So we'll continue on this form towards relegation, because it's complicated getting a new manager in. What are you talking about?
No, you're missing the point.
I'm not missing your point. We're United. We're the biggest club on the planet.
Yeah, we are the biggest club. But what I'm saying is,
let's not act like the biggest club on the planet.
One of the days where you just sack a manager and there's nobody there to replace him. That's what I'm saying, and that's why
you'd be better off saying we're not used to this because we've had Fergie for 20 years.
No.
It's not right.
No, the power of negotiate. You have to get somebody in place. You have to get.
Conte would have said yes, and Conte would have been in by now.
United didn't want Conte.
We didn't even approach Conte.
United didn't want Conte. Well, because they didn't want. He's a pragmatist. We've been down that line. They didn't make an approach.
But the point is, it's not that difficult to get a manager to sign for your club. If you're the biggest club on the planet, it shouldn't be difficult.
If Ollie signed cheap for one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Correct.
So if that's a United legend, how much do you think Haag and the other two guys are going to sign? They're not going to be nearly not possibly as much as Ollie. They know they can't come and ask as much as that. Well, the only one that could come and ask as much as that is possibly Zidane.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
What you've got to remember is, because United are struggling, these guys will be in a strong position of negotiation. So, you know, they'll want a lot more money. Plus, what you've got to
No,
understand,
United ain't going to be desperate to be
no.
had over by but they ain't going to. They won't
no.
allow
What
that.
I'm saying is, you've got to get the right.
I think we said a
You've
few
got to
weeks
get the
ago.
right manager in for the right position for the culture of football that you want to play. And obviously, they didn't see Conte as that man. They didn't see him as that man. He wasn't in, you know, their conversation.
We've had you mentioned of a name. I just remembered because we talked about Leicester. Brendan Rodgers has been keeping being touted up as well. You know what I mean? Are they in some sly negotiations to talk to him? Why his name's been thrown in the hat?
I think we're setting ourselves up for him further embarrassment with Brendan Rodgers. Why would he come? He's doing a great job at Leicester. Leicester are going places. So why would he come? And what you don't want is to tout him. Well, there's no. The last thing you want is to tout Brendan Rodgers. Says,
is the Leicester job bigger than United job?
Say again.
Is the Leicester job bigger than United job?
I'm saying Leicester are going somewhere because Leicester from top to bottom are organised and know what they're doing. They have a plan. They have a philosophy. Is paying dividends on the pitch. We are in an absolute mess from top to bottom.
Yeah, but the thing is Leicester, Manchester United. You know, you're going to leave Leicester.
Now who's missing the point? Now who's missing the point? I'm saying if I was Brendan Rodgers and I'm thinking I can deal with this chief exec that I deal with. He's brilliant. The door's always open. We understand. We're on the same page. Or I've got to deal with Ed Woodward and all the other guys that are just hanging on to their jobs for their life at United. United's, you talk about toxicity. It's from the top that we're seeing in right before our eyes because Ole is still there. Having to face that press week in, week out is awful what we're doing to that guy. You can clearly see he's defeated. You can clearly see he's putting out of his misery. Yet United are persisting with him because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, but
why would anybody want to walk into that?
If Brendan believes in himself, you know, he'll come to United. If United offer him the job, he would take it. If they offered him the job, he would take it.
But what we're saying is that if United, you know, they're not even approaching Conte, they're unlikely that they've even approached Brendan.
You know what I mean? Brendan, I think the thing with Brendan is if you read it's the compensation because of the you know, the actual contract that he's in. So what they're saying now is that they might have to pay something like 15 million to buy him out of his contract,
which is pennies for United. It's
but
like,
again,
considering buying a player for 15 million, yeah, okay, we'll take a punt on it.
You for that, isn't it? Nothing. It actually is nothing.
When United fans are actually polled and their opinion is about Brendan, a lot of them are very it's an unpopular choice already.
Right,
you know, it's an unpopular choice already because, you know, that he's still remembered, even though he's had 2 jobs down the line from Liverpool. He's still remembered as a Liverpool manager, you know. So that's, you know, when people are asked the opinion, that's what comes up, you know.
I can't remember who said it, but someone said people can say, "Oh, Brendan Rodgers not won anything," but he was only a slip away from winning it, wasn't he? If Joe had slip, they would have won.
Well, yeah, but he's won the FA Cup, hasn't he? He's won the FA Cup with Leicester now.
Yeah.
So and I think against United now, he's unbeaten in 4 against us in the last 4. So you know, he's a good manager, coach. It depends again where the club want to go with, you know. But it'll be interesting because I mean, like, you know, what will happen, and it'll unfold, I suppose, in the next few weeks, and it'll be interesting because it'll be interesting to see if our moods change, guys. If we're happier or we're getting sadder, because you know, I think
it's going to be more worrying because the next window opens up. If we've still got Ollie at the wheel, we're going to think, oh, what's he going to buy? Are they going to allow him to spend? And we know what we've needed. We've needed that deep central midfielder for donkeys. Still not got it in place. That's criminal, to be truthful. You know what I mean?
It's a great point, actually.
We've got a defender now.
Yeah. Let me ask a question. So, what happens if Ollie stays? In my head, Pogba goes, Van der Beek goes, Ronaldo might start making noises about this is not the same club and he may want to go. Cavani gone, what's his name? Lingard goes. So that's 5 players gone. Oh, Bailly is not a fact. You know, him and Bailly don't get on, so Bailly goes.
Well, the thing is,
6 players.
The thing is usually this is a time where you get rid of a manager because one, it's the international break and you're just about to go into the next transfer window. If the club go out and spend, then Ollie's staying. If obviously they don't give him any transfer funds, that's the end.
How about who's coming?
So this is what I'm saying, Nigel, about Zizi coming in, because he's a big name manager. So a no-name manager gets possibly 6 months. Zizi gets a year and a half. Second point is that Zizi will attract big name players. No matter kind of how bad the thing is, he will attract big name players. No-name manager isn't going to do that potentially. It will be difficult. United have to be brilliant for that situation to happen. You know what I mean? Because Zizi will have many, many connections. So this is why it's important whereby, and I say it's callous, but you know what? When you're looking at it, because of who we are, he is primarily at the moment, because the Klopp and Conte and they're all kind of spoken for. He truthfully at the moment is the only, until he says no, that's what I would be saying we'd be going for. In a callous kind of way. Everything else is a major, major risk.
But there's been no talking from the board. There's been no announcement. There's been no public announcements about backing Ollie. And this is why I think he might be in a bit of trouble. Because remember after the Liverpool game, they came out straight away and made sure that he was backed and that they had no immediate ways of going to remove him. Now there's no announcement, and that's when you start to get worried. When there's no public backing, you start to get worried. Well, Nigel, it's been lively, and obviously, you know, we've debated, we've made our points over quite well.
We're passionate, aren't we? We're passionate about our club.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for. And again, guys, I've got to say thank you at the end of the last podcast. You know, guys, you made some fantastic comments. There were quite a lot in there. So if you, again, leave a comment, share, like, and subscribe. That's what we're here for, guys. And we love your comments. And you never know, if you carry on making your comments, even Nigel might, you know, respond with one of these days.
I thought you were going to say you'll invite him on the show. And, you know, all fans welcome. You know, we are an open forum for all the United fans. So if you want to get on the show, just let us know and we'll dial you in. No problem.
Exactly. So, guys, we come to that point where we say, love life, love football, and Nigel.
I know it's hard, but keep that red flag flying. We'll be back. We'll get there one day.
Thank you, guys. Goodbye. Cheers.
The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.